This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Rishika Barua. This is the show where we answer all your questions on living with the coronavirus. We have with us Dr. Subhash Kumar. He is the MD Director, Diabetes and Obesity Center from Patna. We also have with us on the broadcast Dr. Ravi Edwin. He's an interventional cardiologist at the Angel Nursing Home and Heart Center. We also have Dr. Vivek Arya. He's a consultant endocrinologist at the Center for Endocrine Disease and Diabetes in Ahmedabad. Dr. Kumar, if I can begin by asking you, there are, we're dealing with a new normal, and it's not like other diseases have gone away just because the entire world is grappling with the coronavirus. Many patients are not disclosing symptoms, forget COVID symptoms, but not disclosing other symptoms or are scared, to visit hospitals or clinics. What is the advice that you would give them, Dr. Kumar?
It's a very important question actually that people are nowadays due to this pandemic situation not coming to clinic for a condition which they are already suffering from, like diabetes, hypertension and so on. So they should not be scared of coming to clinic. Before coming, they should always book a consultation with the respective doctor, and as they enter all the clinics or most of them, they have a system where they can keep the patient in a very secure environment. So usually they are given a temperature check by using a distant thermal camera, and once they come to the entrance, they will be sanitized. They will be given sanitizer in the hands and feet sometime whenever is required, and then they are checked with that everybody comes with a mask on the face, so that everyone is protected, and the clinic is also environment where no risk is there. So people should not shy away from visiting their doctors whenever it is important. Though telecom consultation is there and you should always try to do that, but whenever it is required, don't shy away.
All right, Dr. Edwin, is there anything that you'd like to add? You're a cardiologist. I mean, there are so many heart patients who probably need to get regular checkups or need to visit a hospital or an OPD or a clinic regularly. What's the kind of advice that you would give them? What are the kind of precautions that you're taking?
Actually, I keep the consultation zone very clean, and I don't allow the attenders inside my consultation chamber. And myself and my OP staff wear scrub suits, wear mask, goggles, gloves, etc. And patients should enter with the mask, and they should disinfect their hands with a sanitizer. And we make the consultation time little shorter. So that is very important. And I keep my room well ventilated, and I use face shield like that, and make the patient comfortable. And we don't run the aircon actually. So these are all the steps I used to do, and as far as possible, I make the consultation time a little shorter so that the patient will be sent earlier outside the consultation zone.
All right, Dr. Arya, is there anything that you'd like to add about, how you're conducting tests or how you're examining patients at the time of a pandemic?
It's very important that when patient comes, it is not possible, like you cannot have the social distancing while examining. So always the patient will be there with us and will be examining the patient, so we'll be going close to the patient. So number one, what we do is when patient is sitting on the couch, we put a disposable kind of a sheet on the couch so that every patient we can change it. So from one patient, other patient don't get infection, number one. Second important thing is that when we use the pulse oximeter, we use the alcohol wipes to clean those pulse oximeter as well as the finger of the patient, and we apply to those finger. Number three, what we do is blood pressure examination is very important part of regular examination. So we have a cloth kind of a shield which we put on the arm of the patient, and over that we tie the blood pressure cuff, and so that every time we don't have to sanitize the blood pressure cuff. And even the stethoscope, when after examining we clean with the alcohol wipe so that from one patient other patient don't get infection. And whenever it is possible, we try to auscultate their chest by standing behind the patient, or when we are examining, say, thyroid, we stand behind the patient. That's how we can maintain the distance, like we are not face to face with the patient, with the chances of getting infected are much less.
And Dr. Kumar, if I can come back to you and talk a little bit about diabetes. Are patients who have diabetes more susceptible to the COVID-19? What's the advice that you'd give them?
Yes, it's a very important factor. In fact, this pandemic situation, diabetic people are at a very high risk. And if you see from the past also, when we had a similar kind of epidemic in 2016, so it was restricted to Middle East countries, it was seen that the diabetic patient mortality was high. And we had a lesson from that pandemic that we have to take care of diabetic patient in a proper way. And in this pandemic, around in January, there was a very big paper which has given a clear insight. It's called Zhu and his team from China. They demonstrated that the diabetic patient, if they have a good control of diabetes, they have less number of deaths, less mortality comparison to those diabetic patients who didn't have a good control. In his study, it was clearly shown that almost 84% less mortality was detected in a well-controlled group comparison to the patient who didn't have a good control of diabetes. So we have enough evidence to suggest that diabetic patients should have a very good control of their glycemic level, and they should have a good HbA1c so that their body's immune system remains active.
All right, Dr. Edwin, what about people with hypertension? Are they at an increased risk of a severe illness or complications if they do contract the COVID-19 infection?
The risk of infection and complications is higher among patients with blood pressure, high blood pressure. That is, it is estimated that the high blood pressure increases the possibility of COVID-19 fatality by 6% and compared to normal people. The risk of BP patient is considered that is due to the weak immune system. Aging coupled with high blood pressure reduces the body's ability to fight against the coronavirus infection. So these are all the postulates that we look towards the patients with high blood pressure patients against the COVID-19.
Right. Dr. Arya, if I can come to you at this point, what happens when a family member is diagnosed with COVID-19, but he or she is asymptomatic? What are the kind of precautions that the patient needs to take in order to not infect family members?
Yeah, it's very important. If somebody is asymptomatic and he has positive COVID test, definitely he requires a self-quarantine or a home quarantine, which is absolutely essential. So what does actually home quarantine means? That he should be isolated in one of the rooms in his house, and he should not be doing the common activity with other family members, like eating with other family member or watching with other family member should be 100% avoided. Mask, which is very, very important, he should be wearing mask all the time, as well as all the other family members should also wear the mask. Other important thing is that he should have a separate kind of utensils in which he will be eating food, and which other members should not use those utensils as well for eating. His clothes should be washed separately from the other people, and so we are not mixing those kind of clothes. Even the toilet, what he has been using, because it has been found that presence of virus in the stool and the urine, it is there for quite some time, so it should be separate. And there will be places where we will not be having individual toilets, so there will be common toilet for all. So in those situations, all other family members should use the toilet beforehand, and then the person who has been infected should use it, and following that he should sanitize the toilet completely. So that should be the best way. Other important thing for a person who has been infected and asymptomatic, he should be aware of the red flags. That is, if he has severe symptoms in terms of shortness of breath, or if his oxygen is falling, like SpO2 is falling on the pulse oximeter, or he has some of the symptoms, they should be informed, and as soon as he has those kind of symptoms,
Right.
immediately he should consult the doctor.
Dr. Arya, the government also says that, hydroxychloroquine can be given as a prophylactic to anyone who's taking care of a COVID patient. Would you recommend that to those who are living in the same premises or the same house as a COVID positive patient?
It is not a recommendation, but there have been, like for healthcare professionals, those who have been exposed, there has been some study. And again, the data is not very strong, suggesting that HCQS will prevent somebody from developing infection.
Right.
So again, it is a matter of discussion right now.
All right. On that note, we're going to slip into a very short break, but our esteemed panel of doctors will continue to be live with us on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Knowledge Partner, USV, your reliable healthcare partner.
Amity has once again filed the highest number of patents in India. Yet another reason why Amity is ranked amongst the top 3% of universities globally.
Dil Se Seva, feeding millions. For details on how to contribute via online banking or via QR code, log on to ndtv.com/Dil Se Seva. With your contributions, the Langars can continue providing hot meals to everyone.
As India's coronavirus cases rise, your questions about the virus answered by the head of India's most respected medical institution. Are we in stage 3 of community transmission?
At a national level, there's really not much evidence to suggest community transmission is happening there. But if we start looking at hotspots, there is a very high chance that is why these cases are spiking. Places like Delhi and Mumbai will peak, I think, over the next few weeks, and we may have some areas which may peak much later on. So it's going to be a very sort of peak as far as the country is concerned. Convalescent plasma is usually useful in moderate to severe cases. It's important for individuals who have recovered to come forward and be willing to donate their blood for this noble cause.
Every Saturday night at 9:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is the biggest story breaking on the news.
हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग हो रही है देश के अंदर, ऐसा बड़ा लाखों करोड़ रुपए बट रहे हैं।
देश की रक्षा आपके त्याग, बलिदान, पुरुषार्थ के कारण और मजबूत होता है।
It's not about other people's opinions. It's about the facts.
अपनी सेफ्टी अपने हाथ में है।
देशभक्ति के तरीके से खून दें।
Fake news? What's that? Here's the news you can trust.
This is an annual pain that they go through.
वर्ष और सब पानी उतार ली गई।
A 30-minute wire to the latest in politics, sports.
Either you're up very late or I'm up very early. I don't know what it is, but thanks for being here.
Entertainment and the videos that are going viral. Watch the news at 8 p.m.
Only on NDTV 24/7.
News you can trust, news that matters.
Brought to you by Harrier, thrill of power, comfort of automatic. Amul, the taste of India. शुक्र है ग्रीन लैम लैमिनेट्स एंटीबैक्टीरियल हैं and clinically proven relief from tooth sensitivity.
मुल्तानी कोका कफ सिरप, तुलसी, वसा, यस्ती मधु, पिपली के गुणों से भरपूर, जो खांसी पर करे तुरंत असर, ताकि बदलते मौसम के साथ आप न बदलें।
Join the MSF and NDTV Unite Without Borders campaign. Donate to help frontline medical workers stay safe. For details on how to donate via online banking or by QR code, log on to ndtv.com/Unite Without Borders.
Welcome back. We're of course talking about how to grapple with the new normal as we go about our daily lives in this pandemic. Dr. Kumar, if I can come to you at this moment, people have returned to offices and you know how typical office spaces work. There is inflow of people from outside, there are clients, visitors, even tea vendors, food delivery, etc. that is permitted in certain office spaces. What do you recommend to people who are going back to office? How can they safeguard themselves from being infected?
Yes, after this lockdown, once the offices are open and people are moving around in the streets, it's very important to restrict the movement inside the office, because unnecessary or those things which are not urgent can be done over telecommunication or internet. So it's better to have a minimum contact office anywhere in India or in the world. So although all those things, all those visitors who are there, which are used to come for regular work, they should have a reduced number in the office so that the number of contacts decreases. And inside the office also, they should have a very well planned system where two people should not be in a same chamber. They should work in a separate distant area, and unwanted visitors should be avoided, or at least those who are not urgent should be avoided. And especially the documents which are there, papers which are moving around inside the office from table to table should be stopped. If you don't take care of it, one person inside the office can infect the whole office. So it is very important to keep the number of people low.
Right. So essentially what you're saying is, even as businesses resume and people go back to the workplace, it can't be business as usual. There has to, of course, be a whole host of precautions, and limiting the number of people you come in contact with is actually key. Dr. Edwin, if we can just come back to the issue of medication. We spoke earlier about the use of hydroxychloroquine. The other drug that has been in the news and also in the news for black marketing reasons has been remdesivir. The use of remdesivir in COVID positive patients is specifically, let's talk about cardiac patients. Is it effective?
Remdesivir is an investigational intravenous antiviral drug recently approved by FDA. In patients with severe COVID-19 infection, it reduces the time to clinical recovery. It reduces the viral load along with other drugs, and the benefit of remdesivir is more apparent in hospitalized patients who are not intubated, or when the patient requires supplemental oxygen, that is, if the oxygen saturation is less than 94% in ambient air. Remdesivir is very much useful in those patients, and remdesivir is also useful in patients who are on mechanical ventilators or ECMO. The duration of therapy in non-ventilated patient is 5 days, and in patients with ventilator, usually we give remdesivir for 10 days. And there is no scientific basis in giving remdesivir in mild to moderate cases. Actually, the side effects we encounter in remdesivir is thrombocytopenia, that is reduced platelet count, and anemia, and the patient's kidney function gets worsened. So if the patient's kidney function is worsened, or if the enzymes start elevating, we usually stop the drug.
All right, Dr. Arya, the other important issue that one doesn't talk enough about, everyone talks about PPE kits for protection, talk about use of masks, gloves, especially in clinics. Can you shed some light on how important it is to use PPE equipment correctly, but more importantly, to dispose it correctly?
Yeah, I think how to use it, most of the people know it, but disposing it off is a very important thing, because once you have used it, there's chances that it may be infected kind of a thing. And if you are not disposing it properly, we are making a lot of people at risk of getting that infection. PPE kit, like people who have been wearing the gowns and the hazmat suits, they should be put in a yellow color bag. That is basically, it is written on that it has hazardous kind of disposable material. And there are certain things like gloves, it should again be in the yellow bag. And there are certain things like which we have been using, like a face shield. And there are certain face shields which are reusable. So those should be cleaned with cleaning solutions like alcohol or 1% hydrochloride. As well as there are certain things like people may be using certain boots when they're working in some of the ICUs. They are again non-disposable kind of a thing. They should again be used using the cleaning solution, and it can be reused in those kind of people.
Right. You've talked about PPE kits, but I want to specifically also, Dr. Arya, if I can just ask you about the use of masks, something that all of us do on a daily basis. How important is mask etiquette? The way you wear it, the way you take it off, the way you dispose it, and the way you wash it.
Absolutely. Like most of the masks, like people what have been using either surgical mask or N95 mask, and there are a lot of people using even the cloth mask. So the disposable mask, again, like the way it should be, like it should cover your nose and your face completely. The string should be tight enough so that you are not getting the air from any of those sides, and what you get is, and what you are exhaling is not going out through the mask otherwise also. Similarly, like for the N95 mask, it should be properly fitted. It should not be a loose fitted or your nose is out and only your mouth is being covered. It should not be there. And a lot of people with a cloth mask or with a handkerchief they have been using, where only the nose is covered and the below part it is quite open. So they are actually not safe. So it should be completely covering your nose and mouth, and there should not be any free air entry from any of the side. That is very, very important. Washing of cloth mask, which can be done, and again, like we need to put in the 1% hypochlorite, and then it should be cleaned so that whatever is the virus attached to that or whatever infective material is that has been cleared with the 1% hypochlorite, and then we can wash with a normal soap and dry it, and we can reuse those cloth masks.
Right. Dr. Kumar, coming back to the issue of diabetes patients who are traveling to work, who are also going about their daily life, how can they keep themselves safe in public places? Is there any extra precautions that they need to take?
Yes, definitely. Those patients or those persons with diabetes, they should first of all check their blood sugar regularly. In fact, if they can do it every day, it is very good, and they should keep their sugar level to a very normal. Once they have a normal sugar level, they can go back to work. Unless until they have normal, they should not move out. And once they go out, they should always keep the mask covered, their face and eyes. Eyes also should be covered. Because we don't want any risk for these people to get infected by any means. So they can go back to normal, but only thing they should have a proper precaution, as discussed by Dr. Ravi and all the panelists, that they should not have any chance of getting infection. And once they come inside back, they should keep their clothes and everything out, and so that they don't carry anything inside the house and dispose of all those unnecessary infectious material outside. So these things, they should be taken care well. Yeah.
All right. Dr. Edwin, talking about managing hypertension along with COVID-19, especially in those patients who already have a predisposed cardiac condition, what are the precautions they need to take?
Actually, the treatment of hypertension doesn't differ between a COVID or non-COVID patient. If a patient is a hypertensive, they have to continue the drugs which are already they are taking. That is number one. And actually the treatment of hypertension depends upon the stages of hypertension, whether it's a stage 1 or stage 2, or the patient is in an urgency or the patient is in an emergency, like that. Suppose if the patient blood pressure is not controlled with a single drug, we used to escalate the drugs with a combination of drugs. Doctors and patients stop taking drugs like ACE and ARB drugs. But there is no sound scientific basis or evidence to support it.
Right.
So we depended upon the EAC and ACC guidelines. What they said was physicians and patients should continue treatment with ACE or ARB, because there is no clinical or scientific evidence to suggest that treatment with ACE or ARB should be discontinued because of COVID-19 infection.
Right.
So just like high blood pressure, heart diseases are also considered to be highly vulnerable to severe COVID-19 infection. So patients with the cardiomyopathy, heart transplant patients, pregnant patients with heart valves, congenital heart disease, they should be very careful.
Right. Right. Okay. Dr. Arya, the last question to you. Does COVID-19 cause any adverse effects with respect to hormonal imbalance? What about thyroid patients or patients who have PCOS or PCOD?
The most common adverse event seen with the hormone is with the pancreas or the insulin level. A lot of new diabetes has been diagnosed in people with COVID. The people who have diabetes, their diabetes is worsened. I think those points have been discussed. But other thing which has been noticed is, like somebody on standard or a stable dose of thyroid medicine, either it is thyroxine or it is any of the anti-thyroid drug, their doses do not change much. But one thing which has been noticed is, after getting this viral infection, a few cases of subacute thyroiditis have been reported, where it's a painful kind of a thyroiditis, as well as there is a sudden increase in the thyroid hormone level, which have been noticed in few of the cases. If we talk about PCOS and COVID, as such, there is no relation which have been seen. However, it has been seen like people who have COVID problem, menstrual irregularity which has been seen, and it may be either because of the stress or maybe because of COVID. We don't know yet.
Right.
And there has been some people who have a scanty menses or they bleed for a less amount of time. That may be one of the things which may be seen in few of the cases.
All right, I think that's all we have time for. Dr. Kumar, Dr. Edwin and Dr. Arya, thank you so much for sparing the time of day and answering our questions so patiently. Thank you.